In this lesson, we will finish the mech's center of gravity control. Just a few more steps and we'll be done with this control. Now here's what I like to do with control objects. I like to color code them so it's easy for animators to figure out where they belong. For example, when we start to work on the arms and legs, we'll color the left half differently than we color the right side. That way, we always know where the controls should end up. And this is very important, especially for very complex animations where the character is, let's say, doing a flip, or perhaps in this case, since it's a robot, a mech, maybe some of his pieces are kind of falling apart, and you can get really creative where you have those pieces attached back to the rig. But when you are dealing with animations like that, you need a way to manage all of those pieces and make sure that you always know where they should end up. So you can do simple things like color code your controls to help in that process. So how do we recolor this object? Well, with it selected, we can press Control A, and that'll bring us to our attribute editor. Remember, you could also use your tabs here over to the right. So if I want to go to, let's say, the channel box, I can click on the channel box tab with the attribute editor, and here it is. Now from here, underneath the shape node, we can go ahead and scroll down until we find object display. Let's expand that, and then we'll find drawing overrides. So let's go ahead and enable overrides. We'll go to color, and now we get to choose any color we would like within this index. So let's go ahead and work with something bright, something easy to spot. I'll go ahead and stick with red. Fantastic. So what that means is for any controls that we place in the center of our rig, we can use the same color. And then we'll choose a different color for the left and right halves. Fantastic. So once that has been color coded, another thing I like to do, let's go ahead and jump back to the channel box with Control A, is I like to go in and remove any channels that we will not use, just for clarity. So this control has not been designed to scale at all. Later we will create a control that should be used to resize the model if that ever needs to happen. So since we don't want to scale this, because that would mean that something on the rig would break if the center were to scale, this is not this type of rig. It should remain rigid, right? So here's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and highlight our scale and visibility channels. Let's go ahead and grab all four, the last four channels. We can now either right click and choose lock and hide selected, or we can go to our channels menu and choose the same, lock and hide. So that'll make sure that when we try to scale, you'll see that when we try to grab our scale tool with the R key, we cannot. You can see how the manipulators grayed out. And they're also hidden. So that means that it's very clear that, hey, I should only animate the translation and rotation of this object. How do we bring those channels back, by the way? Well, all you need to do is either Control right click inside of the channel box, or you can go to the edit menu. It's one and the same. From there you go to channel control, and now you can go ahead and scroll down until you find the channels that you have locked and hidden. So there's scale, for example. I'll go ahead and highlight the scale channels, and then we can control click visibility if we'd like to add that. Then we would simply click on the move over to our right so we can move this back to the keyable side. You could just follow the arrow. Once you've done that, you can then go ahead and highlight all of those channels, right click and choose unlock selected. Or remember, you could always go to the channels menu and do the same, unlock selected. And now we're back where we started from. Fantastic. So again, I'll just go ahead and lock and hide those channels. Nice. All right, so now let's say we have this actually control something. What I'd like to do is keep all of the objects inside of the model group that belong here. So what that means is that instead of just parenting this object, we'll go ahead and use another route to control all of these pieces. So first, let's go and experiment with parenting. I'm going to go ahead and take the body 01 group, and I'm going to go ahead and now control click the object I'd like to parent it to, and then press the P key. So that's the basic form of parenting that we've just done, where we essentially connect this object to the hierarchy of the parent. So if I were to expand the control, you'll see there's body 01. And yes, it's doing its job. We're able to drive those pieces. If we were to press the W key and start moving this around, there we have it. But the thing is, we have extracted body 01 out of the model hierarchy. So that's not always the best idea because we want to organize things, right? We want the model to remain inside of its model node or group. So let's go ahead and press the Z key to undo back, or we could simply press Shift P to unparent our body 01 group, or another way is to simply parent it back to model 01, because you can see once we unparent, it's going to remove it from the entire hierarchy, including mech. So let's go ahead and parent it back to model 01. Again, control click model 01 with this highlighted and press the P key. Fantastic. So another way is to simply apply a constraint. Let's go ahead and grab the control this time, and then following that we grab the object to constraint. So when dealing with constraints, you grab the target object and then the object that it should control. So I'm going to go ahead and now control click body 01, and then we can go to our animation module, and then from there we'll go to constrain, parent, options. We'll leave maintain offset on. That way nothing shifts when we apply the constraint, and then we'll choose add. Fantastic. So now watch, as we start to move this control, we're able to drive the position and rotation of body 01. How cool. But we cannot control scale because the parent constraint only handles rotation and translation. We do have a scale constraint though that we can work with, which is super helpful. Fantastic. So our rig is coming along very well. We've managed to set up a control. Now here's something I like to do to add another level of organization. You can see we have created a group for our model. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for all of our controls. Again, just to stay organized. With the center of gravity selected, we'll press Control G to create our group. And let's go ahead and name this Controls 01. And now we'll go ahead and get rid of our transform channels. We'll go ahead and highlight Translate through Scale, and we'll go to Channels and choose Lock and Hide Selected. Sweet. Now the reason why I'm leaving visibility is because, well, what if we want a way to just go ahead and hide those objects? Well, we could just go to the visibility channel and set it to 0. And then when we're ready to bring those objects back, we could either type in on or put in the number 1. Fantastic. So that's it for this lesson. In the next lesson, I'm going to introduce you to driven keys.